Okay, in this lesson we're going to be working with a flamethrower, so we'll be working with particles. And I'm going to give you here a quick example, which I can change the color, and I'm going to show you how you can do that too. The different flame, and we're going to really produce a lot of heat, I guess you might say, because that's what generates the amount of fire that's going to come out of it. But we'll also talk about how we're going to get that force to come over here instead of just going straight down. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. And we're going to be working with nodes in this particular one. And I'll go over this in a little bit here as far as all the criteria that's going to go into this. It's not a lot, but it definitely makes a big difference, especially this one right here, which is the one that changes the color. So we'll get into that in a little bit. So let's go ahead and start a new document. And if you're following along, if you want to stop at any point, this here will tell you, it's called screencast key. So if I use my left click, you can see the left is on there. So if I'm clicking on it, if I use the middle wheel for any reason, well, it's not showing the wheel, but if I push down on it, it will show. So if I'm using the middle wheel for any reason, it will be the middle button, and right click obviously will be the right side. If I do any kind of keys, such as, let's say, the N key to open up this, that will open up my right panel, and then the N close, or if I'm going to select all, if I just hit the A key, which is what we're going to do right now, and then we're going to hit the X to delete, and delete all. So we're going to start off with a brand new flat out environment here so that we can get started into the piece. Okay, so we're going to start off with the Shift A, and we are going to grab a mesh that is a circle. And in this circle, we need to not click anywhere. So you're going to come down to this little panel right here. We are going to lift that up, and then we are going to make sure that the type, this here, is an n-gon, so it is a solid. Okay, and then we are going to rotate this. So and we want to rotate this on the Y. So when we go to, and I'm going to left click to get off of that, but I want to make sure I left click back on my circle so that it is selected. You can see by the orange there. So I'm going to hit R followed by Y, hit 90 at the top, and then hit enter. Must hit enter to finish it off. I'm going to hit my numpad 1 to get to my my right view. We're going to be in this here for a little bit, and I think we're going to be scaling this down here. Let me make sure. Okay, so within the panel here, we need to hit our N key because we need to change a couple things here. We need to change our X and our Y, and we're going to hold Shift and select, or left click and drag. So left click and drag over both of them, and then we are going to hit 0.03 and then hit enter. Okay, so then our circle is going to get pretty small, as you can see as I zoomed in here. Okay, now I'm going to go back so I can make sure I see that brighter grid line there, because that's going to be important here in a minute. Okay, now after we've done the setting the properties, we need to make sure we apply the scale and apply the rotation. So we're going to hit Control A, and we want to hit the scale, and there we go, and then Control A and hit the rotation. Okay, so this locks them out and makes them 0 for both of them. So this is going to be our standard as far as it's no longer flat like it came into the world. So it's now going to be, this is its right, how it's going to be within the world environment here. Okay, so we are on our right screen, meaning that we're seeing it from the right side, and we're going to hit the letter G, and then we're going to drag it up on the Z to about, I'm going to say somewhere in here. So if I hit G and then Z and then drag, it will automatically go. You don't have to physically click on it. And once you've hit, I would say somewhere right and around this area here, we're just going to hit the left click to let it go, and then that is going to be the position in which it will be the start of our flamethrower. Next, we're going to create a cylinder. So let's see here. Let's go to Shift A. We're going to go to the mesh and select cylinder. And I'm going to go to wireframe mode here so I can see this just a little bit easier. So when we want to, for this particular part, we're going to go into edit mode. So we're going to hit Tab, and then we are going to slide this up. We're going to hit G, then Z, and hold Control. So G, then Z, and hold Control, because when you move it up, what's going to happen is we are going to, and I'm going to left click to snap it there. So if I click out here, this center point of this object is now down here at the bottom, and that's important for when we do the next step. All right, so I'm going to just tab into object mode, and we are going to scale this. So we're going to hit the S key, and we're going to scale it down, and then I'm going to scale it on the Z. But we're going to also scale it back in just a little bit more. Yeah, to about there. Because remember how small that circle was, so I don't want this to be too big. Actually, I'm going to scale just a little bit more and then scale back on the Z here again. So it's about somewhere around there. Okay. And then we are going to take and we're going to actually move this up. And we're going to rotate this 90 degrees. So I'm going to hit rotate 90 and just hit the Enter key to finish that out. I'm going to grab the G key and I'm going to just slide this up here. We're going to get this as close as possible. I'm going to zoom in here, and to grab the screen, I'm holding the middle wheel down and holding Shift at the same time so I can grab a hold and pull this up. Now, where did this circle go? The circle's way down there for some reason. I'm not sure why the circle went all the way down there. Shouldn't be. Should be up here. Okay. Okay, so we want to select the circle, then Shift select the cylinder. So this circle is selected, as you can see, and if you can't grab a hold of it, you can click on the outliner here and it will select it. So if I have it off, which, there we go. If I go to cylinder, it will, or the circle, it will select the circle. So Shift select the cylinder, and we're going to hit Control P, and we're going to hit Object. Now what that does is it makes these all one object, so that when we do the next part where we actually randomize this, so if anybody was standing there actually holding a flamethrower, it's not going to be perfectly still, so it's going to be slightly moving because of the person who would be holding it. Okay, so what we want to do is hit Control A, and we want to apply both the rotation and the scale. So rotation and scale. Oop, no, just did that wrong. Control Z to undo that one. Scale. There we go. All right, so at this point I'm going to have you guys save the document. So let's go to File, Save, and you guys can save it wherever you're going to. I'm just going to call this, and you can call it FlameThrower. I'll call it FlameThrowerLesson, but it's the same thing for you guys. And then save it on your desktop would probably be the easiest for you. That way you don't have to worry about trying to find it somewhere. So in that save window, so let me go back to save here. If it lets me. Okay, it's automatically gone. Let's go to save as. So if you select your desktop, which is up here in this top one. If you go to desktop here, it'll put right on your desktop, and then you can hit your flamethrower and hit save. Okay, so our next step, we have this selected. We're going to hit I and add a keyframe. So we're going to hit I, and that's on frame number 1 down here in your timeline. Okay, we want to split our view here. So up here in the upper right corner, as your cursor changes to this crosshair, we want to click on left click and drag to our left. Keep your mouse button down as you do this. Okay. And then in this window here, the right window, we want to go to Graph Editor. So this little button right here, we want to go down to where it says Graph Editor. Image Editor. Where's my Graph Editor? There it is. So it was in the second column for me. So check and make sure it does say Graph Editor. You want to see it like this. This object transform on the cylinder, we want to turn that one down. The circle's going to automatically go with it because we made it as one object. So we're working with the cylinder. Make sure you're in object transform. So turn that little arrow down so we can grab a hold of all this stuff down through here. And we're going to select Y. So Y location. And modifier tab. And noise. So we're going to go to modifier tab. Modifier tab and add noise. Okay, so this little button here, then go to the modifier and add the noise. And you'll see that this comes in as like a squiggly line here. We're going to change some things on that. We want to set the scale to 20. So we're going to ramp that up to 20. And what that does is it actually spreads it out. And then we're going to set strength to 0.1. Okay. And we want to copy the modifier, so we're going to use this button here, which is copy modifier. Click on that. And then we are going to, I believe we're going to go to the Z. Yeah, the Z. So we want to go to Z, and then we're going to hit the paste modifier. And the only thing different is we want to change the offset. So we're going to make us a negative 429 for the offset. It'll make it go a little bit different on its randomness. And then we're going to close the second window, and then we're also going to save. So this here, we're going to grab a hold of this, and we're going to go this direction. You'll see how the one window changes as far as it's gray, and that little arrow pops up, and then you just let go with the left mouse button, and it will go back to your single single window. Let's go ahead and hit save on that a while. So we have that already established. Okay, so our next step is we're going to add a particle system. So in a particle system is actually under this tab right here. And you'll see it says particles on it. So we're going to hit the little plus button here. Oh, hold on a second. I just messed that up. We need to select a circle only before we do that. So let's go back up under here and select the circle only and hit this. So you Control Z to, if you did happen to do that, and then hit the plus. We want to make sure that it's going off of this and not off the center of here. So we just want it to come off that end. All right. So under this, we hit that. All right. So we're gonna actually, I'm just holding my middle wheel and kind of pulling towards me to get back to the main screen here, the perspective view, and we're going to hit Shift A inside here and go to plane. So make sure you click on the main window to get the plane. And then with the plane selected, we're going to hit the S and scale it up. And I would suggest something about that big is going to be fine. You'll see how these have the brighter lines going out. Somewhere around there, because we're going to shift it over just a little bit anyway. We're also going to add a wall. So I'm going to hold my shift, middle wheel, just to pull it over. And I'm going to hit Shift A. We're going to add in a cube. And with the cube, I'm actually going to go into solid mode here. With the cube, I'm going to hit the scale on the Y. So it's S, or nope, wrong. Scale on the X, and we want to flatten it. And then I want to scale on the Y to make it longer, like this. And then we're going to hit the G on the Z and pull it up. And I'm going to actually scale a little bit bigger on the Z. So I'm going to hit the, I want to make this wall just a little bit bigger. And then I'll move it back up again. G on the Z, just to slide it up a little bit. Alright, so then we're going to hit the G on the X. So we're moving it. We're going to slide it out here. And I think when we put it out here, we want it to be about 8 grid units. So I'm going to actually hit my numpad 1 so I can see this a little bit better. And to close that window. So I'm going to hit G on the X. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And left click to snap it there. Alright. And I'm going to hit my middle wheel and kind of scroll down a little bit so I can get into my perspective view. Okay, so the plane looks pretty decent here. I don't have to move it over. We should be pretty good there. I was just checking it. I made it smaller before and adjusted it. Okay, so we're going to select the plane and we're going to add some physics to this. So we're going to go to the physics, which is this button right here. And we're going to add collision. And in the collision controls, we want to set the dampening, which is this one here, to 0.9 and randomize to 0.4, friction to 0.9, and the next randomize, which is the bottom one here, this is also going to go to 0.5. If we didn't do this, and I'm going to just hit the play button so you can see this. If we didn't do this, it would go straight through. Now, I know that when I hit the play, it's going straight down. We haven't told the particles that we want it to go this way. Okay, we do want it to go out, but it doesn't understand that it has to have a force basically throwing it out there. And we're going to do that here in a little bit. All right, so we've established that. I'm going to hit all the way to the back. I'm also going to do the same for the wall. So I'm going to click on the wall, add collision, come down here to dampening. And dampening, by the way, takes away the bounce. So otherwise what would happen is they would bounce constantly. So it takes it away as if it's kind of diffusing it in a way. And then, of course, the randomize makes it so it disperses randomly when it hits it. Friction 0.9 and randomize 0.5. Okay, so now we have all that established for both of them. And we want to select a circle. So I'm going to hit this circle here. And I'm going to go back into numpad 1 here for this. under the particles tab. So we want to go back in here. We want to establish when this is going to get turned on and when it's going to get turned off. Okay, so it's going to be like blast, like somebody's blasting in it. As if you saw the video in the beginning, it comes on quick, goes off, comes on again, goes off, and then it comes on for the very last part forever. So we're going to do something very similar to that. So the start frame we are going to hit is going to be 10, and the end frame is going to be 23, and lifetime is going to be 25. Under the velocity tab, so we want to come down here to this one. Let's scroll up here a little bit so you can see this a little better. Normal to 0, so this one here, we're just going to make it a 0 and hit the enter. Randomize is 1, so we want to go to this one here and make that a 1. I did play around with this a little bit, and this seems to be the best. Well, it looks better this way. That's why I'm not going to say it's the best. I haven't messed around with it. Did all testing to make sure that it's going to be exactly that. Object aligned. Okay, so we're going to go to object aligned X and make this a 26. Physics tab. So come down here to the physics tab. And dampening. Okay, under the forces here, the dampening, we want to change that to 0.1. And viewpoint display. So we want to come down here to this. And we want to change the size to 0.024. Just want to make sure I got all that. Okay, I believe that's it. I'm just going over my notes here real quick to make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, it looks like I got everything. Lifetime. Yep, all right. Okay, so the circle. With the circle selected, we are going to hit Shift D and then right click. Okay, so we're going to Shift D, right click. Okay, well, I did it twice. So you're going to Shift D and then right click, and you should have circle 001 and circle 002. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to select circle 001 and I believe we want to go up here to emissions. Yeah, so scroll back up on this. We want to hit this 3 here, so it's a new one before we do the emissions. So emissions number is going to be 1500. I just want to make sure that I got this correct. Yeah. Okay, so we're 1500. Make sure I didn't have the emissions on the other one. Okay. Okay, I'm going to hit the enter to get out of that. Or frame start, we're going to go to frame start to 35. And end of the this short second is going to be 50. Left click there, 50, and then hit enter after you're done to get that in there. Okay, so I want to hit circle number 002, and we want to come here and hit this 2 here to create a second or a third particle system. We're going to come to the number emissions, make it 7,000. So we're ramping up how much emissions is coming out, and then from the frame start, we're going to do 80, and then go to 215. Velocity, so we want to come down here to velocity, and we want to do the object aligned. We're going to make this 27. Okay. So I just want to, I'm going to close up these because I'm supposed to see, there it is. I know it was in here. Underneath the emissions under cache, we want to hit that little tab there. And right here under the bake, it's going to take a little bit of time when we do this, but we want to go ahead and bake all. Let's see. Bake all dynamics. Yep, so we want to hit bake all dynamics, don't hit the bake up here, hit this one here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. It shouldn't take too long. Now, on the computers in there at school, if it does take longer, just sit and wait for it to finish out, but it shouldn't be too bad. Okay. And then we want to hit save. So let's go to File and save our work. I'm pretty sure I don't have to do that for all of these. Yeah, it did them all. Yeah. So now I got a red line under all 3 of them. Now I'm just going to hit the play just to see. Yeah, see now that's what we're wanting right there. And you can see how it's randomizing this out here. Good. Okay. So I'm going to go back to the first one. Alright, so we saved it. Okay, so next step, I'm going to, we're going to stay in this particular viewpoint, and I'm going to hit Shift A to add in a cube. I'm going to go into wireframe here, and I'm going to hit G and then Z to pull it straight up. I'm going to zoom in here so I make sure. Well, all right, I'm going to actually increase it. So I'm going to hit the scale and just make it a little bit bigger. And then I'm going to hit the G and Z and pull it up here. There we go. You want this bottom line to be as close to that as possible, so I'm going to just take it up as much as I can. And it's okay if it's just a little below it. That'll be perfectly fine. Alright, so I'm going to zoom back out here. I'm just using my scroll wheel to zoom back out here. I'm going to tab into edit mode, and I'm going to band select, just using my left mouse button to do that. And I'm going to go on the X. When I move this one, I'm going to want to put this as close to that wall as possible. So I'm going to zoom in here, and that's good. Okay, if it's right on, that's fine as well. As long as it's right on or just a little past, you're going to be fine. Alright, so I'm going to scroll back out here. I want to get into my perspective view. This here, you really don't want to go too big with the domain because this takes forever when you actually do the the baking system of it, when it actually goes through the rendering, it's going to really take a long time. I am going to expand it, scale it just a little bit on the Z, but I'm going to go back into my object mode to do that. So I'm going to hit the scale on the Y and just make it a little wider. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and hit File Save here, because this is going to be our domain. I'll scroll over so I can see this a little easier. Position. Here again, every time I'm grabbing the whole screen to slide it, I'm actually holding Shift and the middle wheel down to do that. Okay, so with our domain selected, we need to go into our Physics tab. And that's right here. And we're going to hit Fluid. And our fluid type is going to be domain. And we're going to leave this as gas. We are going to change this to 320. But make sure you pay attention to when we do the rendering, because if we don't change certain aspects, it's going to take forever per frame to do this. So towards the end, pay a lot of attention when we do the rendering, how you have to set up the other tabs up top here to make sure that it doesn't take near as long. I did a lot of trial and error on that and found out that when I didn't do anything, it took up to a half an hour per frame to render. So especially when there was a lot of flames, it was taking longer. Okay, so we want to go down into the cache. Down here. First, change where you want this cache to be. We're going to hit click on this folder. I'm placing it where I had mine. If you want to, you can place yours on the desktop here. Because for me, I'm trying to keep all this together anyway. So, FlameThrower. I'm going to create a new folder. And before you hit your placement, this here will allow you to create a new folder, the one with a little plus. And I'm just going to put and hit accept and accept. So now that is where that should go. All right, now under the cache, we want to change our type to modular and click on is resumable. Okay, I'm going to scroll back up here to the top, and we already changed 320, so let's go time steps, which is right here, I believe. Let me check here. It's 5. Yeah, time steps, we want that to be 5. Time scale. I missed that one. That's 0.8. And then border collisions. Okay, we want to make sure we have the right borders on here, so we want to make sure we have the bottom and the right checked on that. That's the bottom of our domain and the right side of our domain. Okay, and then turn on adaptive domain. This here is very, very important. What's good about this is your domain, if we go to render it and this whole domain stays open like this, it really takes a lot of time for it to try and render all that. If it's only doing this little bit, the domain will only be that little area, so it takes a lot less time rendering. That's what the adaptive domain does, and You will see it later on. All right, so under threshold, so adaptive domain, under the threshold, we want to make this just 0. Okay, so under gas, this is where we want to really pay attention here. This here, you can play around with this if you want, but this 0.2 for the vorticity is like the power that it's going to come out. So you'll see how the flames come out. If you want this to ramp up like it's a jet, you can do that. Or you can even make it less and it plumes out more. And but I found that this here is pretty decent as far as the look of it is pretty good there for 0.02. All right, so we want to check on dissolve and time. So we're going to want to turn down the dissolve tab right here, and we're going to change our time to 80. So I'm going to click on that and make it 80 and hit enter. Under the fire tab here, click on that, and we want to scroll down here just a little bit so we get this into reaction speed. So the very top one here, we're going to click on that, and we're going to make it 0.6. Here again, you can play around with these different criteria here to make certain things happen, but we're going to do a little bit in the nodes anyway. So, but this will definitely change the force and how much flames are going to come out, how much smoke is generated, and that kind of thing. Okay. And I think we're pretty well done with the domain there. So I'm going to go ahead and hit File, Save here. And I'm going to go to numpad 1 to go into my... And I'm just going to zoom in so I get that circle. There we go. Okay. And I think I'm just going to hit Shift to hold all three. Is that doing it? Make sure when we select this, we don't want to select those other two. So I'm going to just click off of that, and I'm going to go ahead and reselect that circle. So we just want the one. And then we want to go into our physics tab. So we are in the physics, and we want to go to fluid. So we want to select a fluid, and we're going to check fluid type to flow, and we're going to make this fire and smoke, and flow behavior is going to be inflow. Sampling substrate is going to be 10. Fuel. Okay. Fuel I'm going to leave at 1. You can choose more. I wouldn't go much higher than 3, but this is what's going to really force that to come out faster, or like there's a lot of the fire coming out of a lot of the particles. All right, so we're going to flow source. So I'm going to scroll or hit the little arrow for the flow source particle system. We're going to change this one here, mesh to particle system, and then underneath this, we're going to select the particle system. So first one, flow source, change that to particle system, and then actually physically select the particle system for the second one. And then size, we're going to make this a 0.8. And I think that's it for all that. Then we're going to want to come back up here, and we're going to left click on 001. That's the second one. We're going to add fluid. We're going to go through this whole thing again. So flow, fire and smoke, inflow, sampling is 10. And then fuel. Fuel we're going to leave at 1, or at least I'm going to. You can change it if you choose. Flow source we're going to make as particle system and particle system. And the size for the particle system is going to be 0.8. And I just realized that I didn't do this for the first one. Initial velocity, we want to turn that one on too. And make that a 6. I don't think I did that for the first one. I'm just going to go back and check and make sure that I did do it for the first one. No, I did not. So make that a 6. And then once you are finished with those two, click on the third one and do the same thing. Fluid, flow, fire and smoke, inflow, sampling 10, fuel is 1, flow source is particle system, select the particle system, change size to 0.8, and turn on initial velocity and make that a 6. Alright, I think. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out here. I want to select my domain now that I did all that. And I want to bake the data. So right here in the very beginning where the fluid is at the bottom, I'm going to hit the bake data. This might take a little while. So once it is done, you'll see this little timer or the frames going the whole way across. And when that's done, I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. The bake actually took a little bit long even on my computers. I can imagine the school computers are going to be a lot slower than this. Maybe one of those things where you have to let it bake the rest of the day and come back the next day and finish it out as far as the next part of the lesson. So we are at this point. You can see that my domain, my adaptive domain is really small. And I don't know how well this is going to play, so go through. You can see that it's going to play, but it's going to get slower as it goes through. But it's going to go through all 3. Okay, now I'm not going to let it finish playing out, but you can definitely see how much it's changed. I'm going to get it to a point where it's putting out the fire just somewhere right here so we can see it. Next part, we're going to actually split our screen, so we're going to come up here to the right. We're going to grab it, pull it over to the left. And in this one, we're going to change this one to Shader Editor. And I'm going to hit the N key to get rid of that window. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit different for a lot of you, unless you've done some programming or work with any kind of nodes. It's a little bit different. So we're going to hit the N, or the new. Okay, I got rid of the sidebar. Okay, so I'm going to go to my render tab here and change it from EV to cycles. And I want to come back on here. I want to select the principal BDSF, and I'm going to delete that. And then we're going to hit Shift A, and we're going to add in a principal volume. So right here, so under shader, we're going to go principal volume. I'm just going to place it right there. And I'm going to connect my volume. So I'm going to left click on that little green dot and bring it to volume. And it kind of snaps, so it's not really that difficult. I'm going to use my middle wheel button down to move it over. You're not going to be able to see this because I'm in this window here, so I'm going to try and explain everything that I'm doing. So every time you see those 4, I'm pushing my middle wheel down to grab a hold and holding it down to move. So next thing, we're going to add an attribute. So we're going to go Shift A. I'm going to go to Input and Attribute. I'm going to put that up here. Make sure you're able to see that part there. And I want to add in a converter. So I'm going to go Shift A and add in a converter, which is a color ramp here. And I'm going to add in a math node converter. I'm actually going to bring these two down here. Okay, in the attribute one, where it says name, I'm going to type in heat all lowercase. This is very important. Make sure that that is a lowercase h, because that makes a big difference later down the road. So we're going to connect our fac into a factor here. And then we're going to connect value into the first value. So let me go color into value. And then we're going to switch the add to multiply. So I'm just going to click on that little tab there. And I'm going to connect the value into the emission strength. So this one right here. Okay, so now back into the color ramp, I'm going to drag this black one over. And then I'm going to bring the white handle to the left, like that. And I'm going to add another one, but I'm going to drag that middle one over to the right here. And I'm going to bring all three of those, actually bring them down here a little ways. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to make that one black. Yeah, so in this one, I'm going to select that one. I'm going to change this, make this black. Like that. Okay. I'm going to hit quickly save this. So I don't think we saved it after we did the bake, so just want to make sure to do that. If you have left yours run all day, I probably have already saved it for you. Okay. Okay, so we want to Shift A, and we want to go to search, and we're going to type in black body. Yep, that one right there. So we're going to put that one right here. And we're going to put the color into emission color. Now, this temperature will also change the color of the flame. So let me grab a hold of this. I'm just going to change it to this one, so you can see how it's changed the color already. And we're going to change this one to 1250. Now we're going to do some different things with this particular part, but got to make sure this is correct. I'm going to have to go back and check that real quick. Okay, so we want to change our multiply value to 200. Now we got some a little bit brighter. I'm not sure. Okay, we do have plenty of white there, so okay. Just going to check here real quick. I want to go to color management. Okay, that might be part of the reason. So the AGX here, I'm going to change this to filmic. There we go. That's why. If yours is not looking correct, like it should look like this, go down to your color management under your render tab. the whole way to the bottom, color management, change your AGX to filmic, and you should get to see it on your screen a little bit better. Okay, so I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to add Shift A and add input of volume info. Okay, so volume info right here. We're going to put that right there. Okay, so we're going to select this, hit Shift D to duplicate that and bring it up. Okay, so we need to take the density into the factor. And we want to, let me move this over, we want to duplicate this, Shift D, and then just drag it up. Color into top value. Value into density. So we want to make sure it goes into this one here. Value into density. There we go. Okay. Okay, so in this color ramp here, we want to move the black one. Oop, there we go. All the way to the left. We want to delete the end one. So I'm going to hit the X on. Oop, no, that's not what I want to do. Make sure I have that select. I want to hit the minus on that. So make sure you hit the minus to get rid of that. Okay, let's see here. We want to change the multiply value to 50 on that one. Okay, so this here word, we want to completely take this out. So just hit your backspace on that. And we should start to see. Oop, let me go Shift middle wheel here so I can get this more in the screen so you can see it. Now, because it's in cycles, it's going to continue to render in that screen. Yours might be a little bit slowed down, so just be aware of that. But you should start to see the smoke and that kind of stuff. Okay. Okay, so I did say that this changes the color. So, I mean, we could do the color here, or we can add in the hue and saturation. This is one of the things I had said was one of the more powerful nodes in the whole node structure. So I'm just going to click into that, and the factor is the one that's going to change. Or I'm sorry, the hue is the one that's going to change the color. So the lower you go, like 0.1, it'll change the blue to purple, so on and so forth. So as you go up through, it will start changing. And 5 is the orange color, 6 more like a yellow, and then it'll start changing to green as you go up higher. Okay. I'm going to keep it at the 5 just to make it look like a more natural flame. The only other thing that we're going to change is the saturation. We're going to make this a 0.995. So it's not quite as saturated in there, but it'll definitely look like fire. Okay. Let's go ahead and hit save. Alright, so in the world color, so we want to come back over to here, and this is the world tab, so click on that. We want to change our world color, so right in this area here, we're going to click on that. We're going to take this all the way to black. Okay. And then, alright, so I'm going to go ahead and drag this over. I'm going to lift this up I'm actually going to switch this over to this one. Make it a little bit easier for me to... I'm going to just get where I think I could best see it. And we're going to snap a camera by holding Control, Alt, and then numpad 0. I guess maybe it would help if I had a camera in there. I think I deleted it before, so let me add the camera in there. Unbelievable. Alright, there we go. Now Control Alt numpad 0. That's what I wanted. Okay, so I'm going to hit G and then see if I can... No. Alright, so let me hit that again. Get it more set up, and then I'm going to back it up just a little bit on the X. 7. Okay. So numpad 7 gives us a top view. So I'm just going to hit G and then the Y. And all right. I guess it would help if I hit G, then Y. There we go. I'm just going to pull back just a little bit. And then I'm going to go to numpad 0. Numpad 0 is the camera view. So, okay. That's looking pretty good there. Yeah, because I want to see this entire area here. This isn't as important, but see the flame all around here is what's important. So something close to that is what you want. And then, of course, let's go to File, Save for that as well. All right. So we're getting close to the very end here. So in our render engine, this is very important for rendering purposes. Okay, we've already saved it, but we need to change these two right here. Okay, the noise threshold. If you don't, this is going to take forever to render. I first did this and it took 6 days to render out this 250 frames. And that was on my computer, so the computers in the school will probably just quit on you. Okay, so 0.5 for both, and let's go ahead and File, Save. And then we are going to go one last part here. So under your output, you can set up how many frames you want to render at one point. And we're going to leave it as a PNG. But under your output, this is very important. Click under this. As you can see, I've done this already. Several times, actually. You're going to want to put it in your folder or in a folder on your desktop. Or just, you can set it on your desktop, but I would prefer you put it in a folder. It's going to be easier for you to find it. I'm going to find mine here. So, FlameThrower. And then I'm going to put a new folder here. FlameThrowerLesson. And hit that. I'm going to hit the accept. So it should state that here for you. We want to leave it as a PNG because we're going to take it into Premiere later on to assemble this, and it actually renders fairly well this way. Okay, so back up here to the top. When you do this, you can set this to a certain amount of frames. So if we do, let's say we want to render out just the first 20 frames. You start frame is 1, second frame is 1, or end frame is 20. You can do it that way, and then go up under Render to render animation. I'm going to go back to 250 here real quick and just hit Save one last time. So as you go through each one of these, just kind of remember what you're at. You know, if you finish at 20, then you're going to want to start at 21 and go to 40 or 50, whatever it is. And then once you have them all 250 done, we'll assemble it. And that's the end of the lesson.